sure I have everything here. Okay. Happy to be here, happy to see you all. I just heard the introduction that 2 years ago, there wasn't much conversation about AI. Not true, because we were here also 2 years ago presenting what AI is going to be, and also last year as well. Today, it's going to be a 90-minute session, but it's not just going to be me. We have amazing guest speakers as well. And there will be a lot of knowledge and a lot of information. Take pictures, take notes, but always happy to catch up afterwards to answer any questions. There is so much talk about AI. There is so much fear. There is so much misconception. And it's all because of uncertainty, because there is not clarity. What I want to do today is I want to focus on opportunity, on what AI gives DMOs and everyone in the travel industry, and what that opportunity is and how you can connect with the visitors, with customers in totally new ways because of AI. We'll have 3 modules, 3 sections today. One is how to be discoverable by AI, how to make sure that AI bots, AI systems can actually find you and include your content, your information, your destination in their systems. The second module is how to fuel AI with knowledge. And the third one is how to embrace the shift of one-way broadcast to being always on and to connecting with customers and visitors in any moment. As I mentioned, it's not just me. We have amazing guest speakers. In module 1, there will be a panel moderated by my colleague Stefan, and we'll have Cameron, Alex, and Viola talking about their experience of AI discoverability. Maria and I will have a Q&A session about how content becomes a knowledge layer and what this means, again, in terms of discoverability for AI systems. Jessie will have a conversation with Stefan and share Travel Oregon's experience of adopting conversational AI tools, and she will share the results and what it meant and what the process was. Okay, and this is not a sales pitch. It has never been at eTourism Summit. But I wanted to take 30 seconds to explain why I am here and why I am doing this presentation and telling you about AI discoverability and why you should listen to me. So at Intentful, that we started in 2021, all our products are powered by AI, and not just by AI, there is AI search component. So we know we do this hands-on every single day, and it keeps evolving, and we know the technology behind, and we know what it takes, how AI thinks, and how AI makes decisions, whether it is for AI assistant or we just recently launched a new product called Generative Response Ads, where you can have a conversation right within the ad space. Or if it is a content creation. And it is all powered by the AI agent that is specific to a destination. And again, this is all AI search. So I want to share with you what we know, and hope that some of this information will be helpful to you as you adjust for this new age. So here we go. Part 1 is how to be discoverable by AI. This is obvious, and this is what everyone knows. So historically, the websites, and we'll be talking a lot about the websites and the apps, they were built for direct, intent-driven interactions. And they were done, obviously, for people. And they were optimized for the destination awareness. They were supported by paid search, by some organic search as well. And they were mostly a source of inspiration. New landscape, AI systems pick up the sources that they can understand, that they also trust, but we'll talk about trust a little bit later, but that they can understand. They interpret the context and content, and unlike the old world of SEO, it's not just keywords. Again, we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. And also, discovery now begins with AI systems interpreting user intent. I use this word in every presentation that I make, but there is a reason we've been called Intentful, because it's about the user intent, it's about the visitor intent, and that's where AI systems start. It is different from SEO. And I think this is something that I would like you to remember as one of the key takeaways. While there is some overlap, it's only some. The approach of the AI systems is very different from the traditional Google bots. It's no longer just keywords. It's content, it's context. Just keep this thought as we go further. There are now two audiences. And while we may say that historically, it has always been two audiences. It's a human, and then, yes, we optimize for Google. Again, because this is different, that was just that, optimizing, just making sure that it is discoverable, but it was not really the audience. A human is not just a target audience of 1845 that lives in a city 500,000 plus that makes X number of dollars in income and so on. A human in the audience now is a real person who is overwhelmed, distracted, multitasking, probably looking at the destination while watching a movie or helping kids do homework. In their moment, that's the human target audience. We humans can understand the context. We understand the layout, and quite frequently when we don't find something, we give it sort of another chance. We try looking at another page. We know that it's a reputable company or it's an official destination website. We don't leave. We can, or at least not leave immediately. We continue searching for the information that we are looking for. Now we have the second audience, and that second audience is AI systems. And if you think it is just one AI crawler that comes to your website, there are at least 4 types of crawlers that come per system. So OpenAI would have 4, Google would have 4 at least. And let me explain you what they do. AI data scraper is the one that comes, and I will be talking about bots as if, well, okay, they're bots. So an AI bot, AI data scraper, comes to the website to get the content to put it into their LLM. So it scrapes for content so that it can create its own knowledge base. And it takes it all. It takes whatever it can find and then puts it into an LLM. The second one is AI search crawler. The search crawler is somewhat close to what the traditional search crawlers were. They want to understand the structure of what they are dealing with, and I'll explain why. They need to understand what they cite up, what they can see, what they can find, where the links are, and so on. The third one is AI assistant. The easiest way to understand AI assistant is when you have a conversation with ChatGPT, for example, and you're asking a question, and AI assistant provides you with a response. When that AI assistant provides with response, what it does, it goes into its knowledge sources. Its knowledge source is an LLM where the first bot, the scraper, took the content, but then it also wants to make sure that the content is relevant and up to date. And that's why it would go to your website again to make sure that it finds that one piece of information that is up to date. To be able to do that, it relies on the second bot that initially saw what the structure is. The fourth one is the AI agent. And there is so much. We can have another 90-minute conversation about agents, but agents are autonomous. And this is a thing to remember because there is so much confusion with terminology. Agents, basically we can say, figure it out and do it for me. I have a demo for AI agents later in the presentation, but for agents, it can act autonomously on behalf of your users' visitors. I use agents all the time now. I actually have a couple. One of them has an email address of its own because I'm not comfortable giving AI my own email address. And then I already booked one hotel in London by using AI agent. The only thing that I did not do is enter my payment information, but it did everything else up to the moment that I had to enter the payment information. Of course, I did check that the hotel was okay, but everything was fine. So 4, just to summarize, give me the content, help me understand the whole website, answer the question, and figure it out and do it for me. This is your second target audience now. So you have a human and you have AI systems that are complex, multi-level, and way beyond just keywords. Then there is a reason I'm mentioning this. 42% of all web traffic is now bots. And these are not just AI crawler bots that we just talked about. These are advertising bots, these are malicious bots as well, but also AI systems. 42%. And there is a connection here. It all costs money. When we think that we want our website to load fast or to be available because of the user experience and because our visitors deserve to get great experience, that's all true. But there is another component to keep in mind. It all costs money. The AI bot is not going to make an extra effort if it cannot find the information. In the beginning, I mentioned we humans, if we don't find something, we go back and try to understand, maybe it is hidden somewhere. The AI bots will not do that. If they do not find it, they move on, because for them to re-scrape, to reprocess, it's all computing power, and that's all money. So, and there is still, at the moment where we are right now, they don't address the brand or address the destination, they will just move on to another source. And there is no emotional connection, of course, there is only logic. So when we look at how AI interprets the websites, we look at 3 steps, 3 phases. Discoverability, if your website is open to AI, if when they come to, if this bots, the system that I was just describing, if they come to the website, are they welcome? Can they be allowed? Then, is there a sitemap? Because a sitemap works as a map that works as a guidance of what a bot can find on the website. That was true for SEO, but this is even more important now. And robot.txt is also an instruction, a direction for the bots of where to go and what to do. So the sitemap needs to be included there. We don't need to go into technical details. The second one is the structure and signals. This is where there is a lot of overlap with traditional search, but it goes a step further. It also has Open Graph. Open Graph is what you use for social media. When you share a link and what downloads is an image in the description, that's what is taken from Open Graph. AI bots love Open Graphs because it is cross-system and not just search, and it gives them not just text, but also images. And then the third one is content interpretation. How long is the text? What is the text density? What is the clarity and substance? What it is about? What kind of questions does it answer? And we look at all 4 bots, give me the content, search crawler, assistant agent, for each of the systems. And while again, this is not perfect, it is a start. Before this event, I thought it would be a good idea to reach out to as many DMOs as possible and ask if anyone is interested to have their websites be analyzed if they are discoverable through AI bots. And we received so many requests that I thought that instead of just going one by one, put it into a summary. And then once we started looking at that, at the results of AI discoverability and AI understanding, it became clear that there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And it doesn't mean that something is just wrong. No, it's because the current digital playbook was not designed for AI. However, there is an opportunity. So let me share the results. So for discoverability, if AI bots are welcome or not, 35% had no sitemap reference in robot.txt. So if there is no sitemap, it will not go. Well, it just leaves because it doesn't understand what it needs to do next. 18% had broken or unreadable sitemap, the same thing, it just leaves. And 20% had AI crawlers just blocked. So this means the AI system would not be able to go the step further, and the content would never make it to the LLM and to the when the user gets to interact with it. Structuring signals is the biggest pain, or at least in my view. 85% of websites don't have structured data. And when we build AI assistants, we struggle with this because we do need structured data for the AI answers to be really good. And my recommendation to all of you is to add structured data if you don't have it, because it will help with traditional search, but it will help immensely with AI systems. And then for the content interpretation, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. There is so much great content, but the way AI reads it, it doesn't really understand it because there is no structure. Sometimes it just uses it as one long text, or it doesn't understand if it is what it is really about, because there is, again, no structure, no sitemap. And then there can be simple changes that can be done. You don't need to redo everything. You can work with what you already have. What you need to look at is create a sitemap reference so that AI can unlock the whole site. Add structured data schema. Review UI and UX, and we'll get back to that in a minute, actually in 15 or so minutes. The reason is when agents interact with your website, they screenshot it. And so it's not like we humans try to see what's where. They screenshot it and then they interpret it. And sometimes, I don't know if you saw this in AI agent demos, they miss the navigation. They can't click because the navigation elements, for example, are too close together. Again, we'll have the demo later in this session. And as I mentioned, it is not about rebuilding. It is translating what you already have into what AI can understand. And the key takeaway from this session is AI does not surface what's beautiful. It surfaces what's clear. And with this, I would like now to invite our panelists to
took us a little bit to get up here, but here we are. So my name is Stefan Merkel. I'm working with Marina at Intentful and helping with onboarding DMOs and travel trade partners to the AI solutions that we have. And the purpose of the panel here today is to sort of learn about, from our panel here, what are the perspectives on now all of a sudden having to deal not just with visitors, but actually machines, bunch of machines that you have to sell your destination to. And the panel that I have here today, so I have Cameron Caldwell with Visit Dallas, digital marketing manager. I can't talk anymore. Then I have Alex Simdars, who's a performance marketing manager with Visit Milwaukee. And we have Viola, who's the vice president of sales and marketing with Visit Pleasant Hill. And I'm going to go to my cheat sheet to basically ask some of those questions. So the first question that we have here, it's all about how do you now engage with these two different audiences, visitors on the one hand side, but then also AI systems and agents on the other. What are your thoughts on that? You want to start, Cameron?
Sure, I can start. First, good morning. Love seeing you all beautiful people. When I think about that, we started monitoring zero-click searches a while back. Anybody don't know what I mean by that? Zero-click? Okay, perfect. Oh, so for the people who don't, basically, when audiences search for something via a search engine, they receive the answer in the search engine. So you've probably seen the AI overviews. They don't have to click through to a website to get the answer. So we started monitoring that a few months ago. And I'll say like 1 to 2 months ago, we started to see some of the impacts of that on our web traffic. I'm talking about a drawdown of up to like 15% in some cases, month over month. And so that's something we're looking at heavily. And I think that offers an opportunity to kind of rethink our KPIs internally. We do what marketers do best. We move the goalpost. And so I think that we're looking at maybe average engaged sessions as a metric that we look deeper into rather than just like gross website traffic, because traffic is changing. And so we have to find different measures for success for us. So that's one thing. And I kind of look at it like, I mean, this was before my time, but in email, when that first came out, people were probably primarily looking at, you know, average opens as a measure of success. But just as, you know, consumer behavior changes and just privacy issues came about on different devices, people had to look at other measures of success. And so I look at this the same way. Even though we're producing great content and it's valuable, just the dynamic, the landscape is changing, and so we have to change how we measure our own success. And so that's where we're starting.
Great. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, so we started getting into the same things that Dallas was dealing with the Google scraping that AI and giving you the answer right on top, so you didn't have to start scrolling and looking for more information on DMO websites. And we started looking at how that impacted our SEO. So we actually have a in-depth project where we have one of our team members working to update every single one of our partner listings so that it has more information in it, so that there is more information for AI and Google to scan and find, removing the flowery notes that come with some of our blog content and those types of things which are meant for inspiration, meant for our engaged users, and getting down to the nitty-gritty within those partner listings and those individual partner and event pages so that people are getting the information they need at the top of Google from us.
Viola.
We're probably like at the beginning of everybody else. So we're at the redesign of our website and our digital marketing strategy. Just after a year or so of having a conversation with Intentful, we've had to go back, and we are in a situation what we call the discovery trifactor, and that's looking at the humans, at looking at what AI systems are searching for, and also looking at what voice. So I feel like we are at the stage way behind these guys, but you know, I don't think you have to start today, right? So it's been great for us to have a conversation with Intentful to understand that the content is not being found in the same way, right? So we are at this the stage where we want to understand how are consumers actually finding content via search engines. They're no longer looking via search engines, but they're also using search AI tools, but also using social media as search. And we've found out that actually they're not finding us because we've only created our website around search engines.
I guess it helps to hold up with microphone. As a follow-up question, when you think about your existing content, have you come across anything where you say, my God, you know, the AI is interpreting or prioritizing our information in very different ways than we had anticipated?
Yeah, I'll say for us, and I know different DMOs kind of deal with this on a different level, but Dallas is Dallas, right? And we have a mandate to promote Dallas and drive tourism to Dallas. But a lot of people who aren't from Dallas don't understand we're different than the Dallas region, than the DFW Metroplex, and AI really doesn't understand that. And so AI will serve content that's in Frisco, but that's not our mandate, or Arlington, rather than Dallas proper. And that's presenting a real challenge, like I said, because we are trying to drive hotel stays in Dallas, and obviously that's how we get our funding primarily is from Dallas hotel tax. And so that's presenting a challenge. And so I think kind of building on this slide, it's important to be very intentional and clear about the differentiation between Dallas and the broader region, and kind of what are our specific value propositions in our content moving forward, so that we can start to tailor the AI to understand the nuance between Dallas and the larger Dallas region. Because even within the larger region, there's different DMOs who have their own teams and have their own mandate. And so that's something that we're paying very close attention to in our content.
Any follow-up comments or?
Yeah, so we are, as I said, we're in the redesign stage. So part of that is looking at multilingual geo-optimized content, because we found out that's how people search. And also, you know, terms that I learned recently, things like generative engine optimization, which is not just about SEO, because, you know, the AI tools don't recognize SEO generally. So we're looking at how do we optimize that content into the geo concept. Also, we're looking at AI voice. Because we've also learned that this is how people are searching. You know, I personally hate chatbots, so the voice concierge is a part of how we're looking. That's been a surprise to us that actually a large part of our audience don't search the organic way, but they are looking in these other three ways.
Great. Let's maybe move on. I have my timer going for every question that we have to make sure we stay on target. So when it comes now to AI basically, dropping by your website for a visit. When you think about that, what do you think is sort of that one component of your content and your digital presence that you really should be getting right?
I'll start with RAG, the retrieval augmented generation. What we learned is that a lot of our AI is pulling content that's actually quite old, right? Which is quite dangerous because if it's not real time, it's going to give the client the wrong information, but it's pulling whatever it can find. So we're trying to work around that RAG framework where a client or consumer, whoever lands on our digital platforms, it's pulling real-time content that is being updated in real time.
Yeah, I would say for us, we have to shift our perspective. Visit Milwaukee, we just went through a full rebrand, and we talked a lot about brand voice and brand tone, and that we want to be friendly and approachable, and the cool kid on the block. AI does not care about friendly, approachable, cool kid on the block. AI cares about event info and where the hotel is located on what street. So finding that intersection is, I think, going to be the most difficult part for probably most DMOs in the room, of the approachable brand voice that you want infused throughout your website, and then the informative information drop that AI is looking for.
Yeah, I wouldn't really add too much to that other than just explicitly stating if you don't have boilerplates for a certain description, so whether those are restaurants, attractions, who you are as an organization, I would recommend it. That way you don't, consistency is valued by AI, and so if it sees on your website and several other partner websites that this is how you describe a certain attraction, then it'll start to pull that and it'll build the authority around that description. And so making sure that whether these are in your Instagram reel captions or your social media bios or just native on your website, making sure there's consistency there, I think is going to be important.
Yes, I actually think that, that's a key point that I should have added to, is that cross-platform consistency, right? I think generally we used to have social media on its own, website on its own, and then any other digital platforms on their own. And then yet AI can actually pull from all those, and especially depending on your demographic, the Gen Zs might be pulling on social first. I was actually in an elevator the other day, and somebody said, well, why didn't you AI it? And she said, no, I Googled it. She said, no, you should AI it first. So you can see how people are changing their search.
That's what I do. I mean, all the time now. If I want an answer, I go on ChatGPT or one of those tools. Now, looking at sort of your existing content and also sort of the sections or the structure of your website, is there anything where you say, oh gosh, you know what, that's something that I'm actually concerned about AI either misinterpreting or just not even seeing in the first place?
I think for us, it may be some video stuff. And so we started to integrate video more on our website. And one thing I haven't seen that may exist, I haven't seen AI serve relevant video outside of YouTube yet. And so, if your video is posted natively or use Wistia or something like that, maybe that's not the most optimal way to showcase that content, and shifting more to a YouTube strategy to make sure that it's served in those type of search engines may be important, because we have a lot of valuable content on the site that's just not getting indexed in the same way.
Yeah, I would jump off of that and say imagery. We've been working really hard on our accessibility on our website and the alt text, but the alt text is also an AI tool. The AI can't see the photo, but it can read the alt text and give it more information. So working with our team to update all of our photos and our videos, adding into the back end of those things what people are looking at, so that one, it's a great accessibility feature, but two, it will help give more context for the AI bots as they go through the page.
And if I may just add, it's actually getting much better at reading the images, not just alt text, but it can also, because of the agents and because of how agents interpret content and they screenshot it, then they describe what's on the image. So I think what you're doing is absolutely right, and then it will pay off really soon as the agents become more widespread.
Yeah, and like these guys, we're looking at schema tagging all content because like they say it wasn't, we actually found that it wasn't not just finding it, but I think hallucinating because it will give you some sort of answer, whatever you're asking for. So that's what we're working on in this current rebrand.
Quite often, if I may just add, and I tried not to interfere, but I just can. So with hallucinations, they do happen. But quite frequently, it is not a hallucination, but that it lacks the right content. And because it still has to provide with the response, it continues predicting the next best word based on what it has. And it sounds so convincing and so true and so real. But because it used marketing copy, which was not really factual copy, it made something up. Sometimes it still does hallucinate, even if it has the information, but that becomes less and less the case.
Sort of as the final, let's say, section for questions, something a little more fun. So if you had a magic wand and you could change one thing about how DMOs approach the subject of digital marketing strategy, what would that one thing be?
I think I would move from, I think we're a very traditional industry in tourism generally, so I think would look at moving from sort of a static system, right, to a more digital ecosystem. And I find that just generally as an industry, everything works in silos. And so I'm really excited about things like, you talked of agents, right? Even agent swarms, right? Creating an army out of those agents and creating, we're experimenting at the moment with Zapier and how do we connect those systems in the back end so that they're all automation. So if we're creating a campaign, it's not just going from one agent to another, but they're working as a team to give us a holistic. So I think as an industry moving from that very static traditional way into these digital ecosystems. I'm also quite excited about spatial computing, the virtual reality, the 3D immersive. So we've been working on it about for a year now, but trying to create content around that and actually making that more immersive into our websites, not just as a tool for our sales team, but if somebody is at home having that immersive experience through that with like Apple Vision Pro, a lot of people have that. So we're trying to create content on that. So I think if as an industry, as a magic wand, if that just could become a normality that whatever website I land on, I can have that full immersive experience from home.
I could jump in there. I think, and I'll just say, all views are my own. This is not representative of my employer. But I think this moment offers an interesting opportunity to rethink business models, just for like businesses across the board, but I think in our industry too. And so as organizations who may rely primarily on hotel tax, maybe these are some private revenue opportunities for you, where anybody familiar with vibe coding? All right, so vibe coding is basically this kind of phenomenon where you can text to prompt AI to help you build software. And so you can use something like Replit or Lovable or something like that, tell it what you want it to do, put your product specifications in, and it'll spit out, a pretty decent app for a fraction of the cost and time that it would take to develop one, natively. And I think that offers an interesting opportunity for internal tooling, to where DMOs can start to craft their own internal tools and maybe license it to other DMOs when it works. So I think that's one interesting thing to look at. I know you mentioned spatial computing. I just think that this moment offers an opportunity to rethink how we operate as organizations, for one. And I think for two, when I hear that question, what comes to mind is sharing more wisdom over information. And what I mean by that is, it's cool to see top coffee shops in the city. I'm tired of writing them, I'm tired of reading them. But like, really infusing more storytelling, I think is interesting and important. So I'm pretty sure if I gave all of you the task to say, what are the best coffee shops in Dallas, you could probably look at some Google reviews or some Google listings and figure out, what are some great coffee shops. But if I asked you, what are the top accessible coffee shops for the visually impaired, it'll be tough. It'll be a lot tougher because you don't know that there's been construction on Commerce Street for 6 months and there's another year that they're looking to do construction. And so just certain nuances and things that come from personal experience and domain expertise that I think that we can start to infuse into more content that's less information heavy and more infused with our wisdom and domain expertise. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, I'll jump off of that. I think a lot of people, to your point of it being sort of a traditional, and we've always been there as a market, I think a lot of tech companies and media companies are seeing the power of tourism now, the dollar behind it, the impact and the audience it reaches. And I think being the first to jump in, I think a lot of times we have been traditional, we've kept things siloed. How do we become that tourism is leading the way, that we tried something first, we did something first. We revamped our entire websites to be readable by AI bots, so TripAdvisor or whoever isn't the top, it's Visit Milwaukee or Dallas or whoever it is, and how do we innovate in our industry, not follow along and become on the trend second or third, and utilizing AI to do that. We now have the tools to make a team of 3, a team of 10 by working with AI, understanding the impacts that it's having on all of our media, not just our website, on the places that we put our advertising, making sure that our ads are aligning with AI bots so that if somebody's scanning the article my display ad is on, is it being read? Is it being fed back to them? How do we implement what's coming in the future, even though we don't totally know, and be there when it's happening and ready to face it head on?
And just to close that, back to the sort of static tradition, you touched a little bit about the geo search, the search engine optimization versus SEO. It's been hard for us to find somebody that says, hey, SEO is dying away, right? Organic is dying away, paid media is dying away. How does AI engine search, how do we put that in our rebrand? And I find that a lot of agents that we are working with are still very traditional, and yet we in this rebrand moment where we're trying to look at, okay, what's coming up for the next year, the next 2 years, right, before we spend money. And I think Marina touched a little bit about how SEO versus geo is going to be working. So I think for me, that's an example of the very traditional refusing to move to the new.
If I may just add, I think, and also Alex, to what you said about the tourism and travel and the opportunity. We work with companies all over the world and with multiple industries, and I'm so happy to see that actually tourism and travel is leading the way. A lot of companies worldwide are still, even though there is so much hype, there is so much discussion, there is so much talk about AI, but it's all still traditional because, and it's not a bad thing, it's not a critical thing, because change is hard. These are all large, complex organizations. We are used to doing things in a certain way, and to change a company of thousands of people to start doing something is incredibly hard. Another thing, and I also keep talking about this, that it needs to come from the top, because the way the world works, the C-level quite frequently delegates the work to everyone, but you cannot delegate AI learning because you need to understand what it is and how this thing works, thinks, and what it is able to do before you can delegate it to someone, because it's just not going to work. But we have been seeing this since we started in 2021. We have consistently seen travel and tourism being the first to adopt what's new. And Alex, as you said, a team of 3 all of a sudden is able to do the work of 100 people. And now it is evolving also from productivity to how AI gets integrated into products like conversational AI or ads or anything. It will take time, but even if we look at eTourism Summit and the conversation that happened from one year to another, there's huge progress, especially for travel and tourism. Thank you.
Good. Well, I guess that's our panel. Thank you so much for being here and participating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
continue building on what we talked about is to how actually fuel AI with knowledge. Again, two target audiences, and as you heard from the panelists, and as you know, how AI uses content is not how humans do. So for us humans, it is emotion, it is storytelling, and it is inspiration. For AI systems, you don't need to remove the emotion and the storytelling and inspiration, but you do need to add structure, clarity, and there needs to be context. It may all sound so obvious, but it takes so much effort to actually do it, to actually get in touch with your agency, with whoever you're working now, and say, let's look at the content that we currently have. Do we have that structure? Do we have that clarity? Do we have that component for the AI systems? And I think we are entering a new phase where there is this transition from one-way broadcast to the audiences to interacting more and more with them. And it will take time for this change to actually happen and for all of us to understand it, to fully digest it. But content is no longer the promotional asset. It is the interactive knowledge layer. And then what we get is a cycle, because what you publish on your website shapes what AI knows and what it shares to your visitors, to your customers. And again, while it sounds so obvious, there is still work that needs to be done for this to be fully available everywhere. But again, the key takeaway from here is think about content not as a promotional asset, but as a knowledge layer. I have a demo for you here, and let me just skip the slide before I explain it. So I'm sure many of you interacted with Operator, which is AI agent of OpenAI. There are lots of interesting things in there. So Operator can do things on its own. You're telling it what you want it to do. We even made it speak to one of our AI assistants on the DMO websites. We don't need to do that right now. What I would like to show you is how AI makes decisions. It's a 2-minute demo, and I am asking it here. It's a pre-recorded one. If we have time at the end, we can do it live. But this one is pre-recorded. I recorded it yesterday night. So I asked it to find a cooking class in Italy. I thought Europe would be too much. That includes wine tasting. So what it does, it opens its own browser. And in that own browser, it uses Bing, because OpenAI in this case. And then it starts with turning my request into what it thinks is right. Then it gets search results. It does not go to the first result, which is, again, a totally separate topic that can take another 90 minutes. It takes whatever website it considered to have that information, and then what looks to us like it keeps searching and using the same thing as a human would, what it does, it screenshots. See, it came back to search results because it did not find what it was looking for, and it was milliseconds. It did not try to find, it's not here, back, search results, and then it chooses something else, and then it finds the website, continues screenshotting, reading it, interpreting it. It needs to do my task, find the cooking class where they have wine tasting. So finally, I think it was the third site. It did find it, and again, it all took 2 minutes. At the same time, I can do whatever work I do on the background and just have another browser window open. And it was quite slow. Actually, I think it was because of the slow internet in the hotel. But it's more or less what it takes, about a couple of minutes, up to 5 minutes to have the task complete. And then it tells me I found a cooking class that includes wine tasting, blah, 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 and then it gives me the link. I can take control if I want, but these are all of the steps that it took that explains its thinking. This is what I did. I did not find. I came back to search results and so on. So we are coming back to content being the knowledge layer, and what you are publishing shapes what AI is able to surface. You may think that operator is not really used by too many people yet. But it's not really the case, because operator is a standalone agent, but at the same time, tools like ChatGPT already become agentic. So the agents are already integrated. Right now it is still, I think for the most part, you would get the response as it is AI assistant. But I think starting about a month ago, they started integrating agentic behavior into it. What it means is ChatGPT has 300 million weekly active users. So it's not that we have time, and that's only ChatGPT. That's not counting everyone else. And OpenAI has just been incredibly open with what they do about their roadmap, but then there are other companies, and all of them have also AI agents. They are all more or less on the same roadmap. What this means is while we sort of have time to get ready, we don't really. So we need to start looking into the websites, into all of the content that you use now, so that it is not only inspiring to people, but that it is also clear to the AI system, because this agent will be available overnight. And while the adoption itself will take time, there is no doubt about that. We humans like to be in control. We don't really want to let that control go. But there are so many things that it can do, and so many things that it can find. Like we were talking about the reviews in coffee shops a minute ago. In my example of London Hotel, I asked that operator agent to actually look at the reviews and summarize the reviews. I don't have the time to be reading hundreds of reviews. It did in 5 minutes and gave me the summary. I trust it. I mean, sometimes I don't, but I spend a lot of time with AI, so I know when not to trust it. And now I would like to invite Maria to have a conversation about how Travel Santana has been working with content. And we've been working with Maria for a couple of years now. And I've been following their content evolution, I would say, journey. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. Today. And as I mentioned, I really enjoy working with you, and I really enjoy seeing how your website has been evolving and how you have done such an incredible job over the years of turning this into a source of inspiration for people. But now also we need to talk about machines. And I know that you've talked about content as a service to your community on multiple occasions, and not just a promotional tool. So tell us a little bit what it means in practice for your destination.
First, thank you, everyone. I see lots of friendly faces, and I'm really excited to be here today. I see lots of friends. I'm like, yay. But let me tell you, so Santa Ana is a city that's over 150 years old, and it's never had a destination marketing organization until 3 years ago. So like the content and everything that we're creating is very intentional, and I think it's work that I'm very, very proud of, because we're only a team of 3. So we have our president, our director of sales, and then myself, who wears many hats. I'm like the content and community engagement manager. But something that we do, our city, being a government seat, has, there's always news, and there's never been content created around Santa Ana. So we had a really unique opportunity to make people find Santa Ana on the map, other than like the news articles, because everything is in Santa Ana because it happens there. It's the government seat. So we were very intentional. For example, in place of a traditional logo, we have 5 distinct signatures that were created by 5 unique artists. So now, not only are we able to showcase, you know, how prideful like people are of our city, but we get to spotlight those 5 different artists and create content around them. That's, I know you guys hate the word authentic, but that's really authentic. For example, when you search our website, we don't have any paid actors or models. It's all residents from our city. So we did, that was my first job, was to recruit volunteers who really want to come out in our images and videos. So that's something that I'm really prideful in.
That's great. As I mentioned, I've been following the community connection stories through content that you have, and I really find it amazing, this authenticity. But now we have the machines. So how do you balance? Do you have any plans? How do you balance the human stories and human connection with what we just talked about being discoverable by the AI systems?
I want to say it's really about balance, and it is a balance. We lead first, with human first storytelling. For example, we created a campaign that really resonates well with our locals, but also like people from far and wide. We created a campaign called Proud Santaneros or Santaneras, and that's like somebody from Santa Ana that has a lot of pride. So now in that campaign, we ask our proud Santaneros, like, hey, what recommendations do you have for visitors? And now we amplify their voices, and they're the ones that are really like creating the content. But behind the scenes, I guess what everybody really wants to know, how are we using AI is we structure our content to be searchable and adaptable, and that's something that the previous panelists like talked about earlier, and so did you. It means like using consistent tagging, clear headlines. I mean, that's something that being new, we really got the opportunity to do things right. So we're like, why are we not trending? Why is our website like at the bottom? Okay, using clear headlines, using SEO best practices, using the cool thing about AI now, you can upload an image and be like, okay, really help me with this alt text. If, you don't have the time. I mean, I'm a one-person team. Like, it really cuts time. And then we look at AI tools as amplifiers, not replacement. So they really help scale our message, but the heart of all our content still comes from real people and like real experiences. So that's something, again, that we're really proud. Yeah.
That's great. What are your plans? What's next?
What's next? Well, we're still very, very new. We're babies. We're only like 3 years old, right? We're expanding our coverage. We really look at all our other partners, like our website's most visited pages, aside from our murals and public art. We're a very like vibrant city. It's also our festivals, and we really, we're trademarking as our message is we're the city of celebrations, because there's so many. Even though we're 80% Latino population, we have a big Asian population, but also we learn, and it's surprising, small Arab populations. So who would have thought that? So we're really expanding that coverage. We're continuing with original video, original like photography and storytelling. We keep developing guides. Something that's really new and on the horizon, our city being over 150 years old, it's a great city to come film. Well, now, like this year, in our strategic plan, we're going to be working on a film guide to, promote, more films. Are you guys fans of Legally Blonde? Yeah, okay. When Reese Witherspoon, the court scene, that was filmed in our city, in our old Orange County courthouse. So, I mean, it's really cool. But we're going to continue to build partnerships with our local creators, our artists, and we're going to keep highlighting those hidden gems, because a lot of people have not discovered Santa Ana the way it is. And don't read the news. Everyone's always like, Santa Ana is a dumping ground for like unhoused citizens, et cetera, et cetera. But no, it's actually come quite a ways around, and I grew up there. I've been living in Santa Ana since I was 5 years old, so I love my city, and I welcome all of you to come and experience it. And now you'll see it more like in a new light, that we're creating nice, fresh content around it.
That's great. And my last question is, what advice would you give to the DMOs that are looking at updating their content, changing whatever they are doing with content now?
Yeah, the main one, I mean, you guys have heard, don't be afraid to embrace AI. And I mean, like us being a team of 3, like it really helps us. But I want to say, like, more in line with the whole authenticity message is do not try to force what you're not. Because you guys know authenticity matters now more than ever. And visitors, and even like local people, can tell when something feels odd or performative. For example, with LGBTQ plus in our city, a representation in Santa Ana, we recognize that there's still a lot of work to do. And it's not just in visibility, but it's in community education, it's in educating our hotel partners. You know, when like a same-sex couple comes in, you're not gonna ask, oh, 2 beds, you know, like it comes with like education, and we have a lot of work to do. But instead of just like rushing to check off a box, like we're just gonna focus on listening, on building relationships, on building trust, and we're gonna keep doing that. So definitely start with what's real, lean into your city's strengths, and really commit to the long game of telling, you know, fuller, more inclusive stories. And then my favorite thing is don't be afraid to experiment. So be willing to experiment, and then if that's using AI more, then so be it. Pilot new formats, test new platforms, learn what resonates, and if it doesn't, oh well. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, my boss always says, we're not in the saving lives business, so if you make a boo-boo, it's okay. So lean in on that.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you. Thank you so much for you. Yeah. And the third module today is about conversations. And because this is a shift that started happening, and I think this is the most profound one that continue seeing over the next couple of years, maybe even sooner. We talked a little bit about this already, but your visitors, they already talk to AI every single day. And we all talk to AI every single day, whether it is Siri, Alexa, or ChatGPT, and it's growing and growing and growing. What's interesting is that, not interesting, but it's something just to remember. The visitors are not just searching, they are asking. They want the conversation, they want to have the discussion, and they want to learn more and not just find something as in traditional search and just move on. No, this is becoming more interactive and more engaging. And I would like to invite Jessie Kirk from Travel Oregon, and she will share their experience of adopting the conversational tool on their website. Jessie? I think the microphone is not working. Or maybe you can take one of.
Hello, can you hear me now? Okay. That's not a Verizon commercial. Okay. I wanted to tell you a little bit about our experience onboarding an AI tool. Our goal, we started with a project brief, and our goal was to empower our users and to have 24-hour access to getting their questions answered. And then we set some objectives too. So our objectives were to increase engagement on the site, and I'll come back to that later. Gauge the use of chat in comparison to site search, because we don't have a ton of people using our site search. And so we wanted to see what kind of things we can do to improve our search. We wanted to increase guide orders and email subscriptions. So that's like our big call to action on our website. And then glean user insights and find content gaps. So that was a big part of it, is what are people looking for that they can't already find on our website? And so we were really excited about that possibility. So this is our project timeline. It may have taken, it may be different for every DMO, but we started, like I said, with a project brief where we really outlined what we wanted to get out of the tool. And then we did vendor demos. We interviewed 4 agency or software companies. And then contracts took about a month for procurement in our situation. And then about a month of testing where we had everyone we could think of ask questions to the bot. We said, come on and stump our bot. And I started finding that I had to go outside of our agency because our agency, our staff, they were asking really questions that kind of insider knowledge or jargon sometimes, or asking about their specific line of business. So we had a lot of people asking specifically about visitor guides, but I didn't know if an actual visitor would ask that same question. So testing, I really encourage you to get friends and family involved. So we launched February 11th of this year, so we're pretty brand new. And now we're in the monitoring phase. So it's really, I've just loved having another source of data to look at. So I am able to review all the questions and see where there's similarities, where there's trends, where there's content gaps like we were looking for. So that's been a really exciting thing. But sometimes also you have to kind of train the tool to say what you want it to say. So we might not have a page on is Portland safe, which we don't, but because that was a decision made by the content strategy team. But we did create a boilerplate answer for the conversation tool. So that's an example of having to come up with information specifically for that audience. So we've had 2,500 questions since we launched in February. The big thing people ask about is specific cities and destinations. So it'll be a lot of how can I get to the Painted Hills from Bend, or where can I stay in this one city? So that's been it makes a lot of sense. Outdoor recreation is the big thing a lot of people come to Oregon to do, so that also makes a lot of sense. And we're kind of known as a foodie capital, so those are all, and then lodging and accommodations is super important too. So just knowing what kind of questions people are asking helps us understand how we should prioritize content, what we should be pushing out on other platforms. So this information is really valuable to me. And one thing we've noticed is that, like you said, saw on the top mentions, it really is about a specific location people are often asking about. So they'll ask about an itinerary for a specific city or a landmark they want to see. I've seen a lot of directions questions, and so that's been really eye-opening. How can we infuse that better into our website about how far or how long it takes to get from point A to point B? There's a good amount of questions about transportation options. So people asking about car-free travel, different airport locations, and then timing. So what's the best time to visit? Or is it good to visit this or do this hike in March? Those kind of questions. Because as you may know, it's very rainy in Oregon, so people are asking a lot of questions about when they should come. So as far as how it's going so far, and once again, we are only 2.5 months in, we have found that, so our team set up a Google Tag Manager, so they set up events so that we could understand how people were using the tool. So we find that chat users are more likely to be on a desktop. So that's something we're looking at, is do we need to make the button a little bit bigger on mobile. The engagement rate is amazing. It's 98%. So the average user is closer to 51%. So that's somebody who is clicking something else or going to another page. So that's, if you think back to what our objectives were, we're doing great. And then chatbot users spend 2 minutes and 45 seconds longer on the site, and they view 52% more pages. So that means that it is absolutely doing what we wanted it to do as far as engagement. And we want people to see more of our content. We want them to know more about traveling to Oregon. So it has been really great. So one thing, as we wanted to look at our content gaps, we have really thought about how to elevate information that is consistently sought across channel platforms. And so we use search, analytics, and the chat information. And so the things that I'm seeing consistently come to the top, we're working on building out a new menu navigation for the site. And so now we have another data point to look at. So that's been really exciting to have, okay, what are chat users looking at versus what are people searching on Google? We also are looking at how we can use, so it's called a conversation agent, it's called a conversation tool, and people really do put their questions in a lot more conversationally than they might for search. So they just kind of type a question or a stream of consciousness idea. And so that has been eye-opening. And one thing we've noticed is that people tend to say coast where we say beach. So these are things that we can implement in our future work. The other thing is that people ask for maps and directions quite a bit. And that has been one of our assumptions a while back, was that people are using other tools for directions and maps. So it hasn't been a huge priority on our site, but I think that we're going to start rethinking how that works. And then just because people have asked enough times, we're working on some new content. So one thing is a first-timer's guide to Portland. I think that we thought that people knew that information. I think our content strategy was more about providing kind of niche, what's new, hidden gems. But it's been really eye-opening to see, oh, we need some kind of more basic overview content too. We had enough people ask budget-friendly, moderately priced, cheap. So I think, because we're trying to make money for the state, that, that's something that we have shied away from. But I do think that there is such a good audience for, that's how their decision point. And so we're going to work toward creating a budget-friendly landing page. The other thing we're doing is creating a lot of updates to older content. So, I think before all of our main, we would go based on number of views, and that's how we would audit content, or something that we just knew was really old. But now we can say, hey, this link keeps coming up in our conversation tool, so we need to take a look at that page. So I just thought I would, just for fun, tell you some of the surprising things that I've noticed about the bot. So it's not fazed by misspellings. So people spell Oregon wrong all the time, and there's a lot of different ways to spell Oregon, apparently. And Oregon trial, and the conversation tool is almost never fazed by misspellings. So I've been very impressed by that. Hot Springs is one of our biggest searches from Google search, and it brings people to our page a lot. It's what they're looking for when they're on our internal search. So we had 466 clicks to the website from Google search in the same time period that we only had 3 AI questions. So I don't know exactly what that means, but it's telling me that it's a slightly different user audience. Like there's something different about what they're looking for. Tons of kids use our conversation tool to ask questions for their homework. We are finding that there's, once again, Oregon Trail is, and sometimes they don't even preface Oregon Trail. They're like, what did they how did they travel back then, or what did they eat back then, kind of things. So we are happy to be a tool for kiddos as well. And we have had 3 Bigfoot questions since February. So yeah, Bigfoot is, it's something important for that people think of when they think of Oregon. So I think now I'm going to come on over and answer some questions.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Jessie.
Yeah.
Really appreciate. So really appreciate you walking us through your findings so far. And it's been, what, 2.5 months now of exploring the world through the eyes of, I guess, AI questions and answers. You mentioned a few things where you say, oh gosh, you know what? Yep, here's some surprising elements. Was there anything where you say that really on a personal level surprised you, that you didn't expect?
I think it's been really important to review the information carefully. I think that we have gleaned so much information, and like I said, that was one of our goals, but I just find it really interesting what the kind of questions that people ask. And I think that as we continue to grow, we'll see, or have it longer, we'll get more questions that are consistent, and we will continue to create content around those questions. So I find that it's almost like a focus group. It's really helpful that way.
If I may add, I find it just fascinating, and every time we go into a new relationship with the AI assistant, I usually start with your life will never be the same once you start seeing what the types of questions, because all of a sudden you start understanding the person on the other side of the screen so much better, and it's not just data points and where they are and how many clicks and how many, but it's real, actual qualitative data.
Yeah, I'll add to that. With Google Analytics, we know what pages people visited, but we don't know if they were satisfied with the information they got on that page, or, except for maybe time on page. But so essentially, we know what their intent was, and we know, did they get their question answered? And so that's been really satisfying to know that's happening.
And now that you had customers or visitors to your site using the AI assistant, asking questions, has that in any way sort of changed your view on what's the purpose of, let's say, a website, or really any kind of touch point that you have with your customer base?
Yeah, I think kind of I mentioned it, but auditing our site in a different kind of way. And our content manager she says, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me, because we had a lot of pages that had COVID messaging on them. And when you have a huge website, I know a lot of you probably do, like we do, it's just really hard to find where all of the out-of-date content is. And so this has just been, instead of just going down your top most viewed pages, it's been a different way to go, hey, this is the kind of questions people have. Are we answering that question? And are we doing it well? So that's been really good.
And speaking of sort of touch points with customers, are there any that you now sort of look at as maybe being underutilized, or are there any where you say, wow, I'm really excited about it and I want to use it more going forward?
Yeah. I think it's been really valuable to see the way that people, so that they're a very engaged audience, and so sometimes they're asking questions while they're already in the state. So they're saying, where should we go to dinner tonight? Sometimes they're saying, almost like Marina, you were saying about using it like an AI agent, where they're saying, I need to plan my wedding, or I schedule they'll put in a question that says, I have 5 kids, here's the ages, we want to do this, this, and this, plan us something. And so it almost can act in support of travel agencies, so it does provide this new level of value that I didn't know that we would be able to create answers that deep and accurate, with that are so specific to these individual use cases.
And you actually sort of brought something up right now with the AI, answering on your behalf. And that many times ends up being something rather scary. You want to be in control of your messaging, and here you got this machine all from a sudden taking over. So do you have any recommendations to any DMOs that say, well, I'm sort of interested in AI, but I'm also scared of it and I don't quite know how to get started?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the questions. The questions are right, like almost all the time. Sometimes the links are not what I would want it to go to, because there just is so much content on our website. So that means when it goes to a page that I would not want it to go to, then we make these decisions about, do we keep this content? Do we update this content? Do we still need this content? Does it need a rewrite? So it has led to a lot of content decisions, and a lot of, I think that it's not something you can set it and forget it. I mean, some people do, but I think when it comes to, if you really want to get the most value out of the tool, you have to really be reviewing the information and be ready to adapt and be flexible.
That's great. Thank you.
Do we want to do any questions from the audience or afterwards?
Maybe afterwards. I have a couple more slides,
Okay, good. Well, thank
and
you so
then
much, Jessie.
we can have the questions if that's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jessie. That was great. He was saying these conversations and conversational tools now allow us to connect with every visitor in moment, where they are. If they are, we see lots of questions and all anonymized. We don't know who those people are, but across different destinations. A lot of real-time questions, like with map and directions, but also like, can I park there right now? And then there are also funny questions like, how do you stop sending me emails? Because I'm trying to unsubscribe and I cannot. All sorts of questions. But that's the key, I think, point of where we are getting it. So personalization has been the buzzword for years. But it was going in the direction where you would need to create 1,000 creative, dynamic DCOs, or you need to have multiple copy variations. And it was always trying to create personas, target audiences, and some buckets. The flip that is happening now, you need one AI that knows what you would like it to know, to be your DMO-aware AI. And then you can have as many interactions, as many conversations, where it adopts to that person and to their intent and to their question in your voice, with your knowledge and with all of that information. And that's the key change. It takes time to digest. It will take time for the industry to change, for this to start actually being more widespread. But that's where it's happening. And that's where I believe the biggest opportunity is, how we connect with customers. And that can be at multiple touch points. This is one of my favorites. This is what we are starting to work on now. So in the museums, instead of just looking at the exhibit, you can have a conversation with that dinosaur. You can have a conversation with the exhibit. You can ask questions and actually want the experience to be so cool and so interactive, and not just looking at it. By the way, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to learn more, please let me know. We're looking for volunteers. I am just incredibly passionate about this project because I think it is educational, and I think it just changes the experience of learning the destination and the attractions. But it is really at multiple touch points that the conversations will start happening. It is advertising, it is web and digital. Advertising, we launched at the end of November, and it's just been fascinating experience. So instead of clicking to a landing page, the person can ask questions right within the ad space. Similar to what Jessie was describing about all sorts of questions that people have. So you shorten the path from the initial connection with the person to they don't need to click and do all of those steps, and they can ask what they are interested in exactly in the ad space. Museums, exhibits, demo websites, ask this page experiences, events. So everything becomes conversational, and then it also brings you so much value and so much data, and it doesn't need to be per PII. It doesn't need to be personal identifiable information, because what you get gives you so much. You don't really need to know that much about that person. And again, this is turning the connection with every visitor. And I think that we talked that the current playbook is not designed for AI, but the new playbook is fully reimagining how the destination connects with visitors. You are becoming available 24/7. They can ask all sorts of questions. AI system will be finding your content through those advanced 4 types of bots. And there isn't really too much work that needs to be done. You just need to remember these 3 things. 1, visibility comes first. Make sure that you don't need to redo your website. It's not that it's a huge, huge work. You just need to add structure. Continue doing what you are doing. Maria was saying that they have a relatively new website, so it was easy for them to create all those tags and everything. That's fine. You can just continue doing for everything new that you create. Start adding the new things, start adding the right things. We're happy to talk with your agencies if you need us to. Again, this is not the product that we sell or anything. It's just because we know how it works, and we're happy to share this knowledge. For the agencies, for your web partners, it's super easy to add the sitemap, to clean up the sitemap, to add structured data. And all of a sudden, you become available to the AI system with all of the amazing content you created. That's the thing that I forgot to add. It is so painful to see when there is a website that has so much content, that is so beautiful, but then the AI systems cannot access it. And so all of that work, all of those budgets, all of that was just, will not be visible. So great storytelling, you don't need to write for machines. Continue writing for people, it just needs structure. And keep this shift in mind that every touch point can become conversational. There are many DMOs that have already integrated AI assistants, not just with Intentful, but with other companies as well. Reach out to them, have that conversation. We will be doing a white paper probably in June with some of the learnings that we see from across the DMOs, the questions that people ask, some of the best experiences and best practices, as Jesse was talking about, like what makes sense, what to pay attention to. But it is super exciting, and you will see how it improves your connection with visitors. It's just going to be amazing. If you want to connect, I have a couple slides here with QR codes for me, and Stefan and I are both here, so that's me, and this is Stefan, and as you can see, we like blue. And this is our Intentful page for DMOs. And I believe we have a little bit of time for questions, and if any of my guest speakers colleagues are still here, please join, and we're happy to take questions. Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Hi there. Yeah, that was a great session. I have a question about measurement. So we know that we want to be discoverable by these AI tools. Are there any information out there where we can understand how often our content, our social media is being pulled in and referenced by these tools, even if it doesn't lead to a visit to our website? And if not, do we think that these AI tools will want to share that information, because obviously it's a collaboration between the content creators that feed these tools and want to have credit for what they're creating and the success of the tools themselves? Thanks.
That's a great question. So not yet. There isn't there are multiple ways how people would just go and ask 1,000 questions and see what comes up. I'm usually very skeptical about that, because AI systems respond based on the user intent and based on the context that they have. Right now, there are no tools, as far as I know, that come from LLM providers that would show what they have. But we also need to remember that we are still in the arms race sort of phase, so they are not disclosing much. This will probably come. But then there are other indirect ways. Like you can see if you get referrals in Google Analytics, if you see that your traffic comes from ChatGPT or Perplexity, and it is actually super easy to see. But you cannot yet see the sort of zero-click searches if it comes up, but there are no clicks.
This is for Travel Oregon. So with your chatbot just being up, or the chat box just being up in the last couple of months, are you seeing a lot of political questions come up because it's so timely?
Great question. Yeah, not a ton, but yes, we've gotten a few that say, don't stop advertising to me, I'm not coming, I hate you, you know, and they're they sometimes specifically mention the president. So that has been new, and yeah, we're seeing it in other ways as well. But yeah, I think also just unsubscribes from our email list, for sure. There's been a few that say, and here's why. And we've actually had a number of people try to unsubscribe from the email list through the conversation tool. And that, you know, that has been eye-opening to see that maybe that button needs to be bigger or something, so.
And AI usually does not engage in conversations about politics. It would politely say, sorry, I'm not going to respond to this.
Oh, right. We trained it to say, we gave it a boilerplate answer and then said, do you have any questions about planning a trip to Oregon? Or, you know, if they're hatred, if it's pretty hateful, then we just say, oh, sorry to hear that, thank you, you know. So we gave it some answers.
One more thing for Travel Oregon. So first, my name is Joy, and I'm with Wheel the World. And Travel Oregon is the first state to be fully verified for accessibility. We're so proud of what you guys are doing there. And we're doing a ton of media projects the next 6 months there. And I'll just be really interested to see how all that increase of content for accessibility works into your search and your bot and everything like that.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we're very excited about this Wheel of World designation. So yeah, I did search. So basically, I took all of our answers and put it in ChatGPT and asked like how many are on each topic and things like that. So that's part of how I have some of my numbers and stuff. But I did ask it about accessibility, and I looked for the keywords that I thought people would ask, and it was in the top, 20 or so questions, but there weren't as many as I thought there might be. So yeah, I do think that we'll have a big spike after we launch in the summer.
Hey guys, quick question on, oh sorry, did I jump in?
It's okay. Oh.
Thanks. So with AI pulling data out of like subsequent websites, do you see like DMO websites getting disintermediated as the AI actually pulls the data out of the websites? That's the interface that's actually giving the answers to those questions. And we're seeing that in a lot of search right now. A lot of the OTAs are scared to death of that. If so, what should a DMO be doing, and what are the new KPIs they should be measuring if it's not necessarily the interactions on their website?
It's a great question. So it all goes back to that discoverability and how good your website is and how optimized it is. AI will continue scraping the information from everywhere possible. OTAs and everyone will have to also look at their websites and see what kind of content they need to keep or what they don't want to keep. You saw the demo in the operator, it just chooses whatever it thinks it needs to. So the KPIs will evolve, let me put it this way. I think those three buckets that I was showing, discoverability, structure, and content interpretation, should be the very first thing. Like, you just need to make sure that your website is accessible, that it is what you would like AI to be, and that it interprets the content right. and then the right thing will happen with AI system, because then it will be able to surface what you consider to be right. If it picks another system for whatever reason, then it is up to you to look at it and see why. Why does it think? Because it actually thinks. I mean, it doesn't think. It's an algorithm, but just do that analysis. But I would suggest that the first step is make sure that your website is done right, and that's what you would like the AI system to surface.
There we go.
So for Jesse, you said you looked at 4 different companies. Am I assuming that you picked Intentful?
Yes.
Since you're on the panel.
Yes.
I mean, it probably is obvious, but I just wanted. And then, what criteria did you use in terms of evaluating, like, why this would be the right choice? I mean, I'm sold on Intentful, but still.
Great question. Yeah. So, okay. So we interviewed 4, and what we were really looking for was something that could answer great questions. And we, they actually built a prototype for us and skimmed our website, and it was so easy to see that it was going to work really well. We had, with the other vendors, some of them offered a lot of other features, and we found like social media integrations, or you can ask the chatbot questions on, WhatsApp or something. And that felt like a really heavy lift for us, because we're not currently on WhatsApp, and we need to build an audience here or there. So there was, and then others seemed to be geared towards a really specific CTA, like buying tickets. And for Travel Oregon, we actually don't even have a booking platform. We really are just about inspiration and information. So those are some of the things that, like, this felt like the best tool for us. It gave us, it was really focused on the best answers, and it combed our entire website versus part of it. So yeah, those are some of the things.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any more questions?
And sorry, it's difficult to see everyone because the light goes in, and so.
Hi. Oh, hi. I'm with Destination for Walton Beach. And one of our key marketing messages is actually our digital chat is actually not AI. It's real local moms answering the questions.
Oh, wow.
So do you still find that's valuable for the visitor that's coming to our website, or should we invest more in an AI chat?
I think it depends on the traffic of the website and the effort that goes into it. I think it is super cool for the human visitors as well, of course, and maybe there is a way to have both, because there will always be questions that the AI bot can answer easily, and but at the same time there is the special touch that you have. Maybe there is a way to have both.
Yeah, I'll add, we used to have a feature on our website called Ask Oregon, and we would send specific questions to bloggers and things that we had. And it's really beloved, but it was time-consuming and costly. So it's not currently something that we use, but I know that people loved it. So one thing that we're thinking about doing right now is taking some of the questions that get asked the most and creating like a frequently asked questions page. But I think, especially if it was like off hours or something, you might really find benefit from after hours. It's this tool, and then, and then during, when you can have, real people answer, that seems like a real benefit too.
Hi there, this is a question for Jesse. Are you able to distinguish pre-arrival traffic versus in-destination? So the discovery phase versus the in-destination, trying to get information, I guess.
Not a ton. It would just be by like viewing them all, reading them all, and so just who has, where should I go to dinner in Coos Bay tonight? Those kind of questions that make it clear that that person is already in our state. But for the most part, I think a lot of the questions are just a little bit more just open-ended. So yeah, I don't think I have a good way yet.
Okay. I think this is it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Jessie. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.